So hello fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728. And I spent a good part of the day thinking about whether or not Trump was going to perhaps launch a coup d'etat on, let's say, Inauguration Day. Because I thought, for example, what better day than to get all of the usual suspects together in one quote-unquote room to do what you needed to do. I don't know what the succession order for the U.S. is in terms of who rules. I know it's like Speaker of the House, Speaker of the Senate, Secretary of State, Vice President, that sort of thing. We've all seen the movies, right? So depending on who's gone, there's somebody else who could rule. And you could possibly, round everybody all up and imprison them, right? Arrest them. And you have your coup. The thing about it is that Trump doesn't really have an eye for detail or any kind of ability to concentrate on anything, to come up with a plan. I mean, the people who have made presentations for him, they say they have to stick his name in there sometimes in order to grab his attention so that he'll continue paying attention to whatever it is that they're saying. Now, that kind of person doesn't seem like somebody who is going to be able to rule 350 million people as a dictator, especially people whose motto is, American freedom and stuff like that. So the thing about it is that you already have the guy with the big mouth who says whatever he feels like, and he has 89 million Twitter followers. You have that. Now, kind of like, is it Lenin? Or whoever it was in the Soviet Union. Apparently, they put Stalin in charge because Stalin knew how to get things done. And then they died unexpectedly. So you had the guy who everybody wanted to follow. Then you had the guy who actually could run things. And then the next thing you know, that guy who everybody wants to follow is dead. And here's his successor, his second-hand guy who takes the throne. Now, there's no second-hand guy for the moment. We're really looking at Senor Donald Trump. But, yeah, that's what you would need. You would need a second guy. For example, if anybody has seen Veep, that's what it was about. The idea is that you had your, what's the guy's name? I can't remember his name. But you had Bush, who was the guy with the name. My dad used to be the president of the U.S. And now you have the other guy who knows how to massage things. He knows how to get things done. He knows what he wants to get done. And you can go do that. So the thing about this current situation that we're in is that you have somebody, Mr. Trump, and we can't clearly see, if something were to play off, for example, we don't see who. If Bannon was there, maybe Bannon might be the crazy guy. There's supposed to be a book that Bannon quotes that is about, massacring immigrants and all this other stuff. I think I heard about it from last week tonight nope, it wasn't last week tonight. It was some more news. What's his name from some more news? He was talking about this book that Bannon quotes, and a lot of people, where, if you read, and Bannon has, he started up Breitbart, he has a lot of connections. Of course, he doesn't look as smart right now, seeing as he ended up getting arrested and so on for fraud, etc. But still, he's the guy with the plan. He's the guy with the imagination. And the whole thing is, unfortunately, Trump doesn't have anybody who sticks to him. Everybody who could be his Stalin or could be his Veep, like, Bush's Veep, or could be his, there's always a duo, right? There was Steve Woz and Steve Jobs. And then in Microsoft, Bill Gates had his second in command, sort of. That's what you need. You need the brains, and you need the muscle. You need the straight guy, and then you need the funny guy. And many of these things that you see, for example, even the Beatles, I think it was Paul McCartney and that other guy who used to beat his wife that nobody talks about, but we still, it's Yoko Ono, and I can't remember what his name, the other guy's name is, but somebody shot him. But yeah, Trump doesn't seem to have his second guy. The problem is that when you have 89 million Twitter followers and you've secured a fervent crowd of people who are almost half of the US, who anything that you did, they would go with. What's the funny thing about listening to Mr. Trump is that he would go on a program like 60 Minutes or some other interview with, is it Axios or some other place, and he would lay out what he does. Even with the guy who came out with the most recent book, the way he was telling, they had recordings of the guy of him saying, yeah, this thing, it transfers from by breathing, and he knew this. His followers would never hear that for the most part, because Fox News would never air that, for example. And New York, is it Newsweek and the New York Post, these places, they don't air the parts where Trump says, yeah, I always wanted to play it down because I don't want people to be worried. They would not hear that because they don't pay attention to the quote-unquote fake news. So Trump has never had a problem being completely and utterly honest about all of the things that he lies about, because his base does not listen to the news outlets where he is actually opening his playbook and saying, this is what I do. And if it is that, even if I suppose there's a quote from him, when there were actual recordings of him saying that he knew how bad the coronavirus was early on, he says, well, I'm just going to call it fake news. And my followers, having this been labeled, even if there's a recording of me saying something, they will think that it's fake news. So it's just crazy that he can do that. Yeah, I'm totally lying about this. But he even says that, stuff like that. Anyway, this is old hash. We all know this. But there are 2 months that are left. Of course, I realized afterwards that the inauguration day was not going to be like past inauguration days, where you had 3,000 people packed into a small area and everybody's reaching out to touch the president or to shake his hand or whatever it might be. I realized that it's not going to be such a great place as it would have been in the past to stage a coup anymore. But that said, there's still 2 months of being as he likes to say, and this is something else that is worrying, I have this special thing called whatever article it is, that says I can do whatever I want. But I never talk about it, except when I do. Of course, that last bit is me putting in some extra. Yeah, he talks about, and people believe it, that there is a part of the law that says that he can do whatever he wants without any repercussions whatsoever. The whole idea is that half of the population supports this dude, and he says that according to the law he can do whatever he wants without repercussion. That suggests that if he were serious, or he had someone like Stalin or someone like Steve Wozniak or someone like Bill Gates had as his second in command, or any of these other people, if he actually had someone who could arrange things, as people say, the next strongman will not be as flighty as Trump is. The next person probably might have things a little bit more planned. So the fear that I felt when I was thinking about what could happen come Inauguration Day in the US are probably overblown on my end, because the reports are that Jared and his daughter and his wife are saying that they're trying to discourage him. But they're real fears nonetheless, because everything that Trump has been able to accomplish, all of it was done by other people, not by him. And he has been able, just with the whole idea of, hey, that's a good idea, yeah, I'll do it. That's all that he had to put out and get somebody else to do it. Or there were people like Mitch McConnell who just needed a Republican figurehead, a placeholder, to sign off on putting all those judges, appointing all of those judges. Mitch McConnell had just been waiting for a Republican. That's all that was required. Trump could have been a frog. He could have been a large sentient hand that just could sign, provisions. That's all that was needed. Somebody that could sign. So Trump does not need to be that intelligent. And as of now, we don't see anybody who could be that mastermind for him. But that said, it doesn't mean that just because we don't see somebody in that position, that person doesn't actually exist. Everybody who knows him, his niece, who helped the New York Times to write the piece exposing about how he got all of his father's money without paying inheritance tax. She says he's not going to concede. He's just going to trash as much as he can. His attorney says the same thing. His ex-wife says the same thing, that he's not going to concede. And his attorney is saying that he might not even, he doesn't believe that he's going to end up at the inauguration. And his attorney is saying that he might just go to his golf club place, Mar-a-Lago, and he might not just return to Washington for the inauguration. Hopefully that is the case. But we have a long time. He said his attorney is saying that he might go there for Christmas. He goes there every Christmas and he might not come back. We have a long time until that time comes. So we just have to keep our fingers crossed. But this, again, is something that I really wanted to point out, because I think it's really important. If Mr. Trump does not become a dictator, what he has to look forward to as an ordinary citizen is something that I think would encourage him to look at alternatives. He probably has a slew of court cases coming his way that he was able to elude because he was the president of the United States of America. He also has a whole lot of bank loans that he personally guaranteed that are coming to fruition, and he doesn't have anything to give in exchange for that. His businesses no longer have the cachet that they used to. A lot of people don't like him anymore, and he pretty much doesn't have much leverage. If he has a Twitter account, and he does, with his 89 million people, he can say anything that he wants to say, and they're just going to say, this isn't credible. We don't really think so. As an ordinary citizen, they don't have to do that anymore. So he can lose his huge following of people. He's number 6 on Twitter. He could face a whole bunch of court cases, which is more than likely. His taxes are probably going to be exposed for everybody to see in a way that is completely visible, not like the way that the New York Times wrote about it. And all of those loans. So if I were this trapped animal, don't they say a cornered animal is the most dangerous? Because when you back them into a corner, they have nothing to lose. This guy is backed into a corner. He's going from being Superman to being somebody that people scowl at and perhaps shout at in the streets without this huge regiment of Secret Service agents. This reminds me, I was listening to somebody who wanted to meet Bill Clinton, I think it was. And I think they slipped into a backyard at a place where I think that they knew that he was going to be. And after the person went up to Clinton and spoke to him, and Clinton realized what was going on, he turned to this is after he was no longer president. He turned to the Secret Service people who were still there, and he says, guys, look at this. What's going on here? Meaning that, you guys, I know I'm not the president anymore, but shouldn't you guys take a little more pride in what you're doing so that people can't just sneak into this party to meet me? I mean, if this person didn't actually want to meet me, if they really just wanted to kill me or something, is this the level of service that you're providing to ex-presidents? And we should not forget the fact that I think at least 2 people ran up to the White House and scaled the gates while Barack Obama was president. So, Trump is going to lose a lot of protection from people. And, he might find himself, I mean, even people don't like Bush, for example, but when you have a big mouth and you say a lot of things that, turn people off, you should expect some kind of retribution. And that's what more than likely is going to happen with Mr. Trump. All I could say is, I hope he doesn't have anybody competent who wants to turn America into a dictatorship for him. Because there are a lot of people who would follow him.